tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of Lady J Media. Thank you and enjoy the show.
I know you do. I know you do, because that's what I do. I give you that kind of love that makes you come back. I'm your pusher, baby. Your pusher.
Why do you like this?
Hey, little black boy, let me holler at you for a minute. I was once in your place, you should respect what I say. Some of the things I'm about to tell you just may save your life in a world where not much is right. Little black boy, you're gonna see and experience all sorts of things, but don't let your mind be locked in a chain. Oh, I'm muted. I'm sorry. Hello, I'm your host, John Hansboro. Sorry about that. It is September 14th, 2022. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day thus far. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. We're just going to get right into it. This has been brought to you by Lady J Media, Butterfly Entertainment. Shout out to Dr. Lady J Jenkins for this platform of What Up Baltimore. You need to go to Lady J Media at gmail.com to find out all the ways to watch the shows throughout the week. All right. Today we have a castmate of mine from the play I Am Woke. I met this brother when we were doing the last I Am Woke play. Very, very interesting brother and profound. He's very talented, extremely talented. But you guys are going to see that for yourself in just a few seconds. So I want to introduce you all to Shemzheru. Shemzheru. Tell us about yourself, Shemzheru. First of all, tell us your last name. Your last name, because I didn't want to mess that part up. I got the Shemzheru down, but I wasn't going to mess up the last name. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, my name is Shemzheru Tenkawur.
Okay.
So a little bit about myself. You see the name is obviously a little interesting. Some people can't pronounce it, some people can. It just depends. So Shemzheru means disciple of the principles of Heru, and Tenkawur means appointed by the Great Spirit, which you see in the background.
Gotcha.
Osiris or Wusser. So that's who I'm appointed by. I graduated from a Kemetic mystery school, an ancient Egyptian mystery school. We have one of many temples located in Baltimore, Maryland. So, that's just a little bit about me.
You said you graduated from an Egyptian, what kind of school again?
Yeah, so it's an ancient Egyptian mystery school. And It's only a mystery because you don't know the curriculum or the educational structure. So it's a mystery. So I graduated from the oldest school that even the pharaonic civilization, like the pharaohs, would go through before even taking the journey to the throne. So they would pass through the halls of Imtam. So I graduated from there, and the priests actually did a divination or interrogation of the earth's energies, and they gathered the name Shemzheru. And the Tenkawur is just a reference to the generation of which I came in with. So we all came together, and you might see other people with the last name of Tenkawur. That just means like the energetic expression of those people coming in at that time all hold that expression as being appointed by the Great Spirit.
And this school, so was this something that you did out of high school, or was this a grade school program? How does that work?
So no, it wasn't. After high school, I like many people, I went to college. I went to community college in Salisbury, and
Okay.
I was there, and I just didn't like it. You know, like I didn't like my classes. I didn't really want to do it. It was just kind of boring. So after I left there, I came back to school in Baltimore, and I went to CCBC. But no, the Earth Center doesn't have anything to do with like the educational system of the West. It's not an extension of any of those. It's actually an extension of the traditional kingships and Kemetic civilization that still exist in Africa. It's an extension of those temples.
Wow. What was that experience like for you when you did that?
Well, so realistically, I'm still in it now.
Mm-hmm.
But the beginning, so the first level of the initiatic process is called Per Ankh. So any spirit that's like coming back into life, they would take at the age of 7, they would begin their initiatic journey and they would go through the hall chambers of Per Ankh. For me, it was just phenomenal. It was hard. Like I'm not gonna say yeah, it was fun, it was easy, da 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 da. It was like the hardest thing because really what it's doing is striving to decolonize us. And that's like everything that I have like became comfortable with in America, everything that I became like thought that this was who I am. You know, I had to fight with those battles. So it was like one of the hardest challenges that I have done, but it was necessary, you know. We all talk
Right.
about decolonization, but how can you talk about decolonization perpetuating the same education that the West gives you if you don't have anything to replace it with? If you don't have no traditions to, you know, clear that out, then it's like, what are you talking about? But yeah, it was nice. It was I got to learn a lot, and now I'm actually in the second portion of that initiatic process, which is called Indushipi. But I can't really talk about Indushipi.
Gotcha. So with writing, how did that come into play, and what does that do for you? When did when did writing become apparent to you? When was this something that you did as a recreation or a form of therapy or anything like that?
So I actually have this one poem called Brittle Little Flame where I'm talking about how I began as a writer. So I began, interestingly enough, as a fiction writer. So
Okay.
I started as a young child doing fiction, and like everybody like might have this scenario. I met this girl, and I wanted to say, spit a few bars, and I started writing poetry from there. So yeah, I'm at this point now. It's just like I'm utilizing what I've learned, like the process of not necessarily giving the information, but the logic and the structure behind like the initiation or the MTOM school into
Mm-hmm.
helping me like put together words, syntaxes, rhyming schemes, like all of those things to be able to like bring something out of my audience.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just get right into some poetry, man, because today's Wednesday. I want to thank everybody who came out last week to Vibes and Verses. Shout out to the table, my team, the table. Everyone that came out, we had such a wonderful time. Thank you for that. The next one will be next week on the 22nd. I hope everybody can attend. Shemzheru, when you were there, not the last time, but the time before last we had it, when you came through, man, you did something that was amazing then. But I had already knew how good you were when we started doing Zoom meetings before we did the play, honestly. You know what I mean? Without further ado, let's just get right into something, man. Whatever you want to spit, whatever you want to say, go right ahead. On this show is no holds barred. It's all art. I've been prayed up for a long time, so whatever you say, we good on it. Trust
me. Okay. In that case, well, I have 3 that I like have memorized. I have Brittle Little Flame, I have Camera Lens, and I have In the Decadence of Our Demise. Like since you're the host, which one do you want to hear?
So Brittle Little Flame, that's the one you said where it kind of explains your journey of how you started writing and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that one first. Is that cool?
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I'm a fiction writer in art, born from the heart of nocturnal streams, drowning in the sorcery of scenes, resuscitated by pen. I bled through the ink of men in their lethargic tomorrows, a seed forgotten in the womb. I grew begotten in tune with the heart sparked through the dark arts of my room. A lunatic of moon, consumed on throne. The exodus was shown of my birth as she groaned, eyes staring in the ozone, hostility in the sky. In these poetic pages turned from the sorcery of sages, my wage was staged in the sky, lightning sputtering by, helixes twisting together as storms, contract signed particles realigned and formed. In her belly, I mourned. My voice adjoined to the world of the dead. Ancestral faces I read. They pointed ahead, spoken psalms, and said a name, Shemzheru, and in their speeches my spirit became. I could hear my mother pushing, vocal cords mushing, shouts battle in the desolate. I hurled to her my cries. She whimpered her replies as sweet lullabies, pushed, body bound by thighs, pushed, light blinding eyes, pushed, opening, squeeze, breathe, 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 pushed, pushed, pushed. Genesis. I breathed in like Bane, sustained through a poison of prose, a powerful antidote, but a paradox of the mind. So out of a poetic passion, I climbed. I was sent here on a mission to reclaim the dignity and pride of my forefathers' father inside of the system. I was sent to earth with a mission, walking in a land of colonization, born black in a keen disposition. See, America is the mother nation of matrix, a pissy child of British incest now flagrant. America, she is a dominatrix, unpaid and slave to step on the phallus of European men. Yet as her foot massages their scrotums, the egos of them congress in the chambers of the Nile, kink on trial. And if you ever out someone who's embarrassed by a kinky secret, they would deny it as if it is the plague, the matrix, on stage. I was a fiction writer at birth, able to expel the lies written by them, a magician who bleeds in the ink of pen, a sorcerer reincarnated as Kim, walking in the lands of sin. I've seen scenes for what they mean, infused in a series of bad dreams, hostile to others black people seem, disconnected in a false connection that professes itself to be communal. Yet in our circle, black on black crime is supernal, seen as a badge made to honor those fallen on the block, children raised by the Glock, told to hold it cocked, if not mocked, fingers hosted around the trigger, warning another nigga, warnings given on Insta, while we watch from the screens of our phones. Screams addressed in disease we own. Parents left to atone. Looking at their babies laying lifeless and prone. Bodies like poem. Because no one is home. No one is ever home. In this series, I have seen the weary. A rotation of the times again. Sodom and Gomorrah designed by them. As crimes fester in this pool we swim. Black people from the shores of the Atlantic. Ancestor to abandoned ship. Beatific bodies melanin kissed, in seas they drift. Water suffocates lung, tongues plead and spit, screams and need shift, prayers turn to wish, arms flail and flit, head tops unseen, dip. They can't swim, so they drown. And we are in that same disposition, drowning in attention without giving it attention. We want inclusivity in their system, yet we don't know ourselves. I was born on a mission to reignite the mind, a poet born of nonfiction in the troubling times. A flower suffocated and squeezed by vines, my spirit declined. But we declined together. I was born as a poet pen, hearing the calls of my great ancestors within. So chants to the gods I send. Nukra Iahu, I am the brilliance of Ra. Nukra Iahu, I am the brilliance of Ra. Nukra Iahu, I am the excellence of Ra. I excel inside of the system, seeing dimensions branded as scars, barred in the chamber of this prison, system, prism. I know that in my fiction, non-fiction is retention, so I must ignite your brittle little flame.
Man, I think I know that's the second time that I've heard that, and it's just like the first time, I swear, man. It really is. So talk to me a little bit about what influenced that, Shemzheru. Like what mindset were you in when you sat down and started writing that?
So I think for that one, I was just coming back from either an open mic or poetry slam.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it was, I know like some of the greatest poets in Baltimore were there. And I was
Mm-hmm.
sitting in my car like, yo, I really want to write something that's dope. But I really want to write something that's like not necessarily rhyming, because I have a tendency of always rhyming, but
Mm-hmm.
something that like encapsulates rhyming with a story, and I want to get to a point. But I also wanted to, so I have this poem, it's called Bones of the Forgotten. And in it, I'm also utilizing Medu, which is the language that I like spit in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm utilizing Medu, and I'm like, all right, well, that piece is kind of like a story and it's a little bit too long. So how can I bring or highlight Medu in it, but also incorporate all of these different, you know, scenarios or stories inside of this like couple minute long piece. So I don't know. So like from there, I was just, I mean, I'm a fiction, like legit, I'm a fiction writer in art. So it's like from there, I was like, all right, well, if I'm a fiction writer in art, let me talk about my birth a little bit. And born from the heart of nocturnal streams, it's like my parents right there. It's like I'm looking at them birth, like, you know, unifying, having sex to like start my birth, start my genesis.
Right.
So yeah, I was just trying to incorporate initiatic things without giving too much information, because sometimes I have that tendency of just like going. Initiatic things with poetry things, with real life things, with just showing who I am. So yeah, that's
How
like,
how do you like, what is the process that you use when you're writing? Like, how do you memorize the things that you write? Because a lot of stuff, that some of the things that I've heard from you, I know all of them have been at least over 2.5 minutes long, at least. Like, how do you memorize all of that information? And one thing you said that's interesting is how that makes sense. A lot of the poetry I do, some of it, most of it has some rhymes in it every now and then. And I think that's how it helps me to memorize it the way I do, even though I have a process of, you know, constantly reciting and reciting, and I even write my shit over and over and over. What do you do to memorize your own words in your writing?
for me, like, all right, I'll I'll look at a couple lines before bed, and I'll like, let's say like let's start at night because it's getting dark outside. So let me start at night. I'll look at a couple lines before bed and I'll say the whole piece, including those new lines. But then when I go to sleep, as soon as I wake up, if I don't do my Zim first, my spiritual activities, then I'm gonna go right into the piece and just like remember that. But all throughout the day, I'm like saying the poem, and every time that I mess up, I start over. I want my speeches to be clean and flow how I need them to flow, so that you can receive them how I have them in my head.
Right.
So I'm just consistently looking at them, and then after I look at them and speak them, I put my mind in a state of seeing them. So if I can put my mind back into the position of looking at a movie and watching that movie unfold, then I can gather more and be able to connect with the words and then bring them to you. So it's like, because like me being like who I am now and like being like an artist, I see things in like a stream of images. Like in the next one that I might do for y'all, I have a line: "Still images still move in silence." So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, with me looking at the images moving, but me not hearing the words unless I speak it, then I connect better to it, and I could just remember as much as I can.
What does writing do for you? Is it therapeutic in any way?
It can be like, I don't. So I had a hard tendency, like when I first started the initiation, I had a hard tendency of breaking the writing when I was angry scenario, because
Mm-hmm.
words have power. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say things, and like I had this one elder initiate tell me, like after I let her hear my poetry, she was like, you gotta change that. She said that you cannot, being who you are, being open to this path, you cannot say that because it's like a curse. So it's like, if my speeches are powerful, like even in the line in that last poem, Nukra'iyahu. It's with that, it's like I am the brilliance of Ra, but how that prayer starts off, it starts off by saying Nuk Heka Upui. I am spiritual words of power. So if I'm exemplifying spiritual words of power in my speeches, I don't want to curse anybody. So in a way, it's therapeutic because all of these thoughts or even all of these scenes that are in my head can like turn into like something that people can read. But I don't want to be the one to write off of my emotion, because I know that my emotion can destroy things or my emotion can hurt people like in an immaterial level. So yeah, it's really a journey that I gotta be careful with.
Yeah, that's damn, man. This is interesting. So you have absolutely no type of profanity in any of your poetry at all, right?
I wouldn't say necessarily that. It's just the way that I use it.
Okay.
The way that you use these things. Because
Right.
if I gave you a gun and you went out and shot a hell of people, it wouldn't be, we couldn't look at the gun. We would look at the person using the gun.
Right.
Well, if I gave you a gun and you just carry it around for protection without using it, then we can still look at the gun and say, okay, the gun is not as dangerous as that. The person using a gun isn't dangerous as that. So I strive like in the first piece, in the decadence of our demise, I actually use the F word. And like I use it, and that was like the first time that I ever used like the profanity in my pieces. And I was like, you know what? I don't think this needs to be here. So I took it out. So because I strive to like be pure, I strive to like follow principles, 77 principles that the Neteru imposed or gave to humanity. I don't really need to use that, I don't really need to use profanity, but it's just how you use it is very important.
Love it. I love it. Let's just get right into something else, man. I know the people don't want to keep hearing me run my mouth asking me questions. Whenever you're ready, man, let's go ahead and spit something else.
All right. So this one that I'm gonna give you. All right, I want to talk a little bit about it first. It's called camera lens. So I was beginning to write a book, and this book was going to be fiction and poetry. But as I was writing all of the pieces, I had this idea. I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to sell my manuscript to another publishing company and have them publish it. I want to publish it myself. So I put a pause on that, and once I get my LLC going, then I'll start all of that again. But in this section, because I finished pretty much 90% of that book. But in this new series of audiobooks that I'm working on, it's highlighting the immortalization of the Black spirit. So Black people specifically, all people do these things, and I'm not just saying Black people, but for right now, I'm Black, so I'll say it.
Right.
Black people in general have like different avenues of things that they find hobbies, whether it be visual art, photography, sculpting, gardening, all of those things. So I wanted to immortalize the Black spirit, or immortalize, the Black spirit inside of each different things, in each different category. So in this piece, it's actually using photography. And it's looking at photography in the judicial standpoint of how, like, how if you have a court case, they may say the defendant shows evidence and then the plaintiff shows evidence, and then, the jury might look at it and then judge. I thought that was an interesting concept. It's because you're looking at a stilled image and you're taking what you see and deciding a person's fate based off of what you see. Right. And I was like, how really can you do that? Like you can hear all the evidence, but how really can you do that? But needless to say, I'll talk more about it after I do this piece. This is called camera lens. Stilled images still move in silence. The body of a nigga, an American dream, capture. The capture of a picture, an American scene, taken. The drowning of an image waiting in a tub, filmed. Hung dry by white hands, cut. Okay, action. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and so it is seen. Lifestyles of the rich and famous vanish as our anguish concealed in a photo. A picture forms in a desolate, screams, taken out of context, soiled in the imagination of a crime. 1,000 words, mind. A picture produces stilled images of spirits trapped in decorative tombs from where they were stolen. A mind dances in a distance, like niggas dancing in distress, distrusting a country who stole black bodies and confessed. Crime. Isn't that the crime that convicts us the criminal? Judge. Sentences rang out in the distance. Judge. Judge asks for proof. Both the plaintiff and the defendant produce. Pictures tell 1,000 tales, though time told a treacherous scene. The jury looks at pictures of images speaking on what it means. Judged. Amendments mended and seen. An affidavit defining our fate. Hands suspended in the air. Don't shoot. The mind begins to compare. Don't shoot. The mind sees the signs there. Don't shoot. The judge holds the gun. Inside voices hum. Words coerced and seen. Don't shoot. Breathe. Stolen. Dreams. Tears surface on face. Don't. The mind begins to space shoot. Lips possess and sound me. The gavel slams the mound. Picture this. The confession of a nigga condemns like the possession of a spirit. You don't fear it until you hear it. Gargling sounds sing lullabies in the nocturnal. A noose suspends air through the neck. The body levitates in air. Demons dance in the distance, like niggas struggling hung from trees. Pictures painted on canvas vanishes the absence, because the absence is all white seas. Seances open portals, like jurors open files. Possession pleads insanity to his victim. Hand claps begin the trial. We, the jury, find that the defendant is guilty. Capital murder is a murder of addition, adding to the suspicion of the potential of something more. Legalized killings of the law. White supremacy of the law. The Jim Crow era of the law. The Ku Klux Klan of the law. The eugenics movement in America that inspired Hitler of the law. The murder of Fred Hampton of the law. But a nigga in a hoodie is considered unlawful. Actions that vindicate verdicts of guilt indicate that the guilty pleads for none. Suspicion in the court of law. Laws controlled by some. Players paint pictures through scenes in mind. The mind resurrects these pictures taken with time. Cameras capture particles of spirits and immortalizes them as picture. Warm water revitalizes them from their tomb, awakens them from their slumber as these particles resume. Still images still move in silence. The body of a nigga, an American dream. A picture tells 1,000 tales, but a picture is just one complacent scene. And that's it.
Okay. Wow. I knew something was going to try to interrupt this. Of course, I had to. I'm sorry, I had to move around so I can keep my phone from dying. I had to keep it charged. Bro, I don't know how you do this shit. I really don't. You know what I mean? I'm serious, man. I don't even know where to begin of what your style is just so interesting to me. Shemzheru, it is, man. Like you tell a story, and not only do you tell a story, you are informing people of shit that we should know that we don't know. Like it's you're a special talent, man. I'm telling you. You know what I mean? And when you what's the feeling that you get when you at open mics? You know what I mean? Because you were talking about how you was at one where a lot of the top poets in this city were there, and I know a lot of them. You know what I mean? We both know it's some spitting poets in this town. You know what I mean? But what is the feeling that you get when you're there and you're experiencing that?
So it's interesting because I was at shout out to a poet named Nate. I was at Good Neighbor yesterday, and he holds this this really, really cool event where we're outside. So so at the initiation that I'm in, I teach. And I teach traditional healing. And when I'm up there, I feel I feel at one with what I'm saying.
Right.
I feel like it's important, but I feel like how I deliver it is important too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the message is important too.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm on the open mic, I know that like a lot of people go and graze the mic before, but it's something inside of me that's like becomes one with myself. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, everybody's around me, everybody's looking at me, everybody is hearing me. Well, I hope everybody's hearing me.
Mm-hmm.
I just I become one with me and myself in that moment. So it's not everybody else, even though I might be feeling the energetic expression of everybody, which will cause my heart to pound, which, you know, that nervous feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But if I control that and let the rhythm of my heartbeat connect with nature, then
Mm-hmm.
I really feel just at one with everything that I'm saying.
I love it, man. Let's keep
Yeah.
this going, man. Just whatever else you got that you want to spit, just go right ahead and get into it, man. I know the people want to hear.
All right. I know I said I had 3 memorized, but I kind of want to do this one right now because I'm feeling a vibe.
Absolutely, yeah. You good,
And
bro. You good.
um I'm feeling a vibe, and I think this will be my 3rd time reading this. It's a
Okay.
little lengthy, but it's not like it's 12 minutes. It's not that long. It's a
Got
story, and I
you
just want
good,
to
bro.
give a little. You said I'm good.
Yeah, you good. You good, man.
Okay, cool. So I want to give a little backstory before I actually begin. Like a lot of my pieces have backstory, and now that I actually have the platform to give the backstory, I want to do that. So
Absolutely.
so this piece that I wrote is called The Graveyard Shift. Um in the comedic initiation, because that's what it is, they teach you how to read, write, speak, Medu. So
Okay.
this is what the Greeks called the hieroglyph.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but our ancestors called it Medu, and Medu just means language. So
Gotcha.
in Medu, there's different tiers of that language. We have
Mm-hmm.
Medu Ma'it, which they teach you in the M-Time school is Medu Ma'it, which means like the language of common folk. So it's like between me and you, if we wasn't colonized and stripped from our culture, we would be speaking Medu Ma'it, not Medu Neter. A lot of people think that this right here is Medu Neter, but it's
Right.
not necessarily Medu Neter.
Gotcha.
Um, Medu Neter is reserved for specific, times of activity, prayers, and stuff like that. So because I'm at the 2nd level, I was like, well, I know that a lot of, stuff from the Nile Valley was taken to museums. And there's a couple museums in Baltimore that actually has a lot of that. I went to the Walters Art Gallery, and I went to the Egyptian section,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was in there, I had my notebook, I had my pad, and all my books, that I carry, and I'm like going around to the statues and just writing everything down, looking at words that I know, looking at words that I don't know, looking at sentence structure, striving to break down these sentence structure, therefore, and to understand really what is being presented.
Right.
So there's a section in that Egyptian section that has like the sarcophagi, which is with the tombs, which the mummies or the pharaohs would be present in, and then
Mm-hmm.
like different like attributes of different organs that they would take out and actually put in different uh, containers. And when I went back there, the energy was so wild. Like I could feel all of what if I could feel everything. It felt like suffering, it felt like sorrow, it felt like despair, it felt like lost. I could feel all of these things. And it hit me, and it caused me to like, take a step back and kind of get dizzy and stuff. And I really had to like change my energetic output and input so that I could actually be in there for the reason of why I was in there. So I went to this one section, and again, I'm writing everything down, writing them to do down, trying to protect myself. And once I leave, and later in that day, I still feel like this energetic connection between me and what was in there because
Right.
of the path that I'm in. So
Right.
this part might be creepy. I do apologize for everybody that's listening to this. I promise I'm not that creepy. I'm sitting across from a graveyard, and I write this piece called The Graveyard Shift. And what you're about to hear is the poem that I wrote based off of that experience. Ink blotches perform in forms, preformed from the past. I stood mummified, staring at the protective glass. I could feel the sorrows preform, taking a part of me in form. In the sarcophagi, I mourned. The spirits of them burdened in the burrows of time, finding me in their furrows fine. I felt my mind open to the crucifix of Apogee sun, summoned to what the accused had done. I called to my ancestors, but my professors answered me instead. Lectures and scholars came as dissertations they read. They spoke on Egyptian mythology, their cosmology, the hieroglyphs and the art of Scientology. I listened to them perform, seeing priests form in storms of the ancient past. I looked at their remains through an hourglass. I remained disdain to their genesis of time, a holder of time melted in the rivers of my forefathers' land. Nations began to expand in geography, but this was their assumption, archaeology. I wanted to know more, so I toured their coliseums, a trusty fraternizing with white minds walking the halls of museums. We wandered looking at Victoria's Secret stage in the Vatican. We marveled at Native American talismans. We saw trinkets, tablets, and sculptures of Roman charlatans. I was honoring those who perished with libations, confessing to my white friends the situation, stationed inside of a playpen with blue-eyed kin, but it was all jokes to them. I saw it then, a sign reading the art of Africans. This perplexed my interest and I wanted more. I waved to my friends, not knowing what for. We walked like hues in the night, but I was confused, a fuse blew in the night. I sparked an invisible barrier by walking in with them. Not knowing in with them, I sinned. Sculptures, masks, and clothing adorned the walls. I marveled at each and every stall, pottery, painting, and works of all kind. I felt at home in this African shrine. I walked through a series seeing artifacts of a legacy, not knowing I was legacy too. We walked to a door that said Egyptian painted in blue. I knew then only through converses versed in school. I knew of them through stories of European tools. I knew of my people through myths told as fable. But when I walked into that room, the sorrow of the black fam is seen only through the people. It's like a peephole looking at the play. The conductor is a peer in power conducting which way the orchestra sways. The orchestra assumes the performance will be what was rehearsed many times. The composer stands above, casting signatures in a linguistic design. He speaks to them in spells, through wands waving in the air. The minds of the ensemble have a big duty there. They must see between the invisible worlds seduced in two states, the conscious everyday life and the subconscious mind. This is called a conduction. In my conclusion of the illusion that I was in before, I can conclude now that the situation for me was no more. I walked into the exhibit labeled Egyptian, expecting to see, and I saw the spirits of the dead shackled, still waiting in the sea. The tortured bodies of the Africans were still there. The tormented bodies of the Egyptians were still there. The cremated bodies of the forgotten were all there. The bodies of the African were not fair, but dark as coal. I lingered in their fires as their hands of me took control. They sprung to their feet when seeing me, watching me walk within the ship freely. I wept when my eyes met the bondage they were in. Colors branded their bodies, blood dribbled down their crowns, like ink from a pen. They wrote on the walls with their blood tethered to chains. Residue pooled on the canvas. They used their fingers to stain. Streaks suffocated the space on the walls as they were begging for their lives. My white friends walked through the halls unrealized. I tried to take them from their chambers as they began to shout, but there was a disconnect in language, yet I knew they wanted out. Their ghastly bodies blew in the wind. I fumed in the feces of men, women tethered in tubes, their wombs wrapped around tombs, their boobs cut in grooves, seeds sat in their furrows, the lakes of menstruations marinated the floor, bodies clasped together. I heard my white friends ask if there were any more. The children bellowed in wails, cries from the abyss, suffocated the air from their bodies mangled to twists. Boys made into girls, eunuchs walk in priss. Rigor mortis curled their soft hands into a hardened fist. Artifacts of so many cultures made their tombs there. I was in despair, choking on the air to breathe. My white friends walked around for the descriptions to read. The spirits came in legion, their bodies kissed by the sun. Their lacerated wombs illuminated, some with missing tongues. Those unable to speak quivered. I shivered like a possession in that room. My friends walked away. I was unknowingly consumed. I could feel their grip pulling my heart. No flash photography. I saw their pain. My friends thought it was art. I could feel my heart mingle with the speeches of the arcane. Inside of their decorative tombs, their awakened bodies lame. Inside of the history pages, their blood stained. As a little black boy in a white linen cloth to me came. Parts of his face were missing. One arm ripped from the socket branded my stairs. He didn't mind. He knew I belonged there. He handed me a hammer, and I felt diseased. He handed me a chisel and told me to set them free. I looked at my friends, my body suffering within. I could feel the grip of my ancestors with him. I could feel the migrations. I could feel the sea. I could feel the thieves. My neck cocked, African American, lynched on tree. Imran Wusser, they said to me. Imran Heru, they said to me. Imran Aishat, they said to me. As I looked at the hieroglyphs and began to read, I called to the ancestral gods to purify my spirit. I asked for goodness on my path. I asked for transcendence from the second trinity of Thebes. I said words of power. The room began to shake in siege. No longer were my friends around, only out of bondage displaced Africans with deeds. I took the hammer and chisel to resurrect the spirits of the dead, but I died then, and they took me instead. Ink blotches performing forms, preformed from the past. I stood mummified, staring at the protective glass. I could feel the sorrows perform, taking a part of me in form. In the sarcophagi, I mourn.
I love it, bro. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, when are you putting your book out, man?
I'm putting my next book out whenever I get my LLC. Like I said, I don't.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off. You already have one out?
Yeah, I have 4
okay,
out.
Tell us about that. What's the name of it? How can we get it?
Yeah, for sure. So, if you go to my website, www.thrones, like the throne that you sit on, THRONESLBB.info. If you go there, and go to the top where there's those 3 bars and click that, you'll see store for books, and all of my books are linked right there.
Got you. Before we go, man, I'm gonna let you take one right on now. We got about 8 minutes left. You think you can squeeze one in before we get out of here?
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna do the I'm gonna do the last one, In the Decadence of Our Demise. And I actually don't. I'm gonna just go with this. We can talk about it one day.
All right.
It's my favorite one. It's a lot.
Well, I gotta have you back on again, so we're gonna definitely talk about it. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll come through and talk about it. Now I'll leave them with a cliffhanger.
Got you.
1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war, tugging on your heart's cord. I wanna make it ring. La 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 la. This is only but a dream I had. And in that dream, I was sad as hell. For a revelation came to mind about a time that was saturated in time inside of this despondent situation. I had a dream I was in Master's Nation, masquerading in mass masturbating. A master in class awaiting demise. For in that dream, I wanted to cry because I was stuck in formation while debating with Satan as he formulated these tribulations in the sanction of the sanity of my home. In this dream, I was alone, roaming in zones as a ghost floating like foam sitting on the mouth of a river. I could see the truth in his disguise as I realized lies that he politicized, petitioning and compromising in the shadows like Amityville, though the horror was this dream. I found myself on Satan's team, siphoning the steam that bled from a human soul. I was confiscating it in bulk, yet confused by this friend. For in his grin, he showed me the ways of men. He showed me praises to him. Marinate in the twilight there, I saw his gleam, conspire as he ascended in his scene. He showed me women and men who thought they praised the one, but whose praises really went to him, as those praises became pristine. He showed me a loophole for holy grin, an angel able to blend in with the society of man, an angel capable to expand in the hearts of brothers, birthed through the wombs of mothers, raised in the sorrows of our fathers and falsely accused by their sisters. I listened intently as he read aloud the scripture, but to fully understand, he said I had to surrender my sobriety. So he popped a toast and boasted about human corruption, marveling in our destruction as he suggested a new scene. And in this moment, I began to dream while laughing at this being as his intelligence rose like a rose. Between the cracks of this concrete crucible, I saw a musical act with chairs. The ignorant he spared in a Spartan master compared to the plight decreed in the laws of man. A portal in my perception began to call. I looked at Satan, he was staring in awe, laughing and pointing like it was made a law, and that's when I saw a mirror parade in the sea of 1,000 eyes. I then watched the experiments Tuskegee in 3D as the men with syphilis ran. I watched bombs go off in Birmingham. I watched Dylan Proof Clan. I watched Sandra Bland hang next to a ceiling fan. I watched J. Edgar Hoover hover over the Black Panthers party and plan. I watched this series as the fate of Black people unraveled like The Wire. I watched Malcolm's body percolate. I watched the men with Dr. King trace where the bullet took place. I watched Emmett Till face his final hours in that desolate place, even his cadaver getting thrown into the lake. I watched Black Wall Street burn as mothers mourned to empty urns, concerned as these turns permed a yearn into the hearts of them. I watched a Black family drive through a sundown town, legally get dragged out of their cars and beat to the ground, as mantras echoed in my ear as, "You niggas don't belong around here, you hear?" I watched Rodney King get beat with batons, bats, and wands 5 past dawn as the officers wanted to protect their freedom. I watched young Tamir as he was looking down at bearer of the gun. I watched as the case of the Central Park's 5 gets spun. I watched the faces of Black mothers as their desperation told their children to run. I watched countless Blacks being hung as the white crowd gathered like it was fun, danced and sung to tunes like, "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming." That's all I got for you today. That's all I got for you. We can't hear you, John. You mute it.
I'm speechless right now, bro. Like, yo, whoa. You got me fucked up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry for my language right now. I mean, you got me fucked up, bro. I didn't even unmute myself. I forgot. Man, look, man. Tell the people how they can follow you. What platforms are you on? Where are you on social media? How can they follow you?
Yeah, the biggest platform that I'm on right now is Instagram. You can follow me at Shemzheru. I'll spell it for you. It's SHEMZHERU. Gotcha. And I'll follow you back. Yeah.
Absolutely, bro. It was a pleasure having you on this evening, man.
I really appreciate
it. Definitely have to have you back on again. This is just the beginning. I have to have you back on again. When I met you and we were doing the play, I Am Woke, I knew I had to get you on the show. And you fit right in with our family, man. The way you just melted right in and it was all organic. It wasn't nothing forced. You know what I mean? It's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful.
I appreciated being with y'all. It was nice being with y'all. Like I said, like that was my first time on a stage play. So like the actual character and just y'all and everything was just like bringing out like a different level. I know of myself, but I never really show people. You feel me? So I really appreciated all of that. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. That's what it's about. Go and get his books, y'all. www.throneslbb.com. Dude, please go get this brother's books. Follow him on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. Bro, I appreciate you for coming on. I'll stay in touch with you, man. I'll be talking to you in the next few days, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Be safe out here. What do you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, if you all are interested in this Egyptian mystery school, let me know. I can lead you to it, or I can give you more information for it. But the Kemetic Renaissance is here. Don't let the European colonizers rewrite our history, because the kingships, the pharaonic civilization, the priests in the temples, all of them are back in Africa are saying, we're here. You want spiritual work? We got you. You want earth energy readings? We got you. This is how we heal humanity, you know? Humanity is in a disposition, but it doesn't have to be like that. So that's all I have to say.
I love it, bro. Congratulations to you, man. And I thank you for being the strong, positive brother that you are, man, because the energy that you got spreads. You know what I'm saying? It does, man. It spreads and jumps on people. I've seen it. So I appreciate you for being on, man. I will catch you next time. Guys, if you want to be blessed, you have to bless somebody else. That's the only way it's going to work. Shemzheru, be safe out here, bro. I keep in touch with you, bro.
You too. All right, I'll talk to you.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to What Up Baltimore Online Radio.